Welcome to the course of Geography of Turkey 2, Human and Economic Geography of Turkey. In this lesson, we will explore fundamental insights into definition of population and current demographic conditions in Turkey. Please feel free to share your questions and insights through the eCampus platform or via email. Definition of population. The word population derives from late Latin populusum, a people, a multitude, which itself derives from the Latin word populus, people. Population is the number of people living within a certain border and, most importantly, within a certain time period. Determining the number of people living within the borders can be done in two ways. The first of these is population censuses, and the second is population calculations. Population censuses are called de facto, and calculations are called de jure population determination. De facto population is based on recording individuals. Although information about the population in the Ottoman Empire dates back to the 19th century, the census was carried out for special purposes, approximately 150 years later than in Western countries. The first census took place during World War II in order to determine people to be drafted into the military. It was built during the Mahmud period, 1831. This census was followed by a census conducted by Sultan Abdülmecit, 1844, in order to identify individuals who would be given a population identification certificate. It is seen that the female population is not included in these two censuses. The third census was carried out by Sultan Abdulaziz, 1874, and it is estimated that the population of the empire during this period was around 12 million. As in the rest of the world, some changes are observed in the course of the population and population data in Turkey in the process. These changes in the country's population can be learned through censuses held at regular intervals. Regular and planned population censuses in our country started with the Republic. The first regular census in Turkey took place on October 28, 1927. According to the results of this census, the country's population was determined as 13,648,270 people. The most important reason for the high female population is that most men cannot return from the wars they participated in. Periodic population censuses started with the second general population census in our country in 1935, and it was decided to repeat these censuses every 5 years. In this census, where the total population is 16,158,018 people, there is a noticeable increase compared to the previous period. Similarly, it is a striking situation that the female population is more than the male population in this census. While population censuses were carried out every 5 years from 1935 to 1990, after 1990, the census was carried out in 2000 without complying with the existing time interval. Population censuses carried out until this date are considered within the scope of general population censuses. With a law enacted in 2006, a national address database was created where all address information was recorded. In this way, Turkish citizens, their identity numbers, foreign nationals are also registered according to their passport numbers and residence address. Thus, since 2007, the population of our country has been determined every year by the Address-Based Population Registration System, ADNS, without the need for a census. The scientist mentioned that there is 3 significant periods in the history of population in Turkey. First period. In this period covering the years 1927 to 1960, the population of Turkey increased by approximately 11 million people. Also, this period coincides with events that seriously affected the country's population, such as the Balkan Wars, World War I, and the War of Independence. For this reason, policies to increase birth rates were implemented in Turkey in the first years of the Republic. Turkish migration to Anatolia after the Lost Wars and the annexation of Hatay to the motherland in 1939 also increased the population. However, with the start of World War II, the long-term military service of men and some economic problems caused the population growth rate to decrease again. After the war, the population growth rate started to increase again and returned to its normal course. Towards the end of this period, the improvement in health conditions and the decrease in death rates contributed to the rapid increase in the population. Second period covers the period between 1960 to 1985. During this period, there was a decrease in the growth rate of the country's population due to the studies carried out on family planning in Turkey and the developments in social and economic life. In addition, it can be said that labor migration to foreign countries, especially Germany, is also effective in decreasing the population growth rate in our country. At the end of this period, the population of Turkey reached 50 million. Third period covers the period after 1985. At the beginning of this period, there was a serious decrease in the growth rate of Turkey's population, and in the following period, the population growth rate generally continued to decrease slowly. The changing family structure due to urbanization, women taking an active role in business life, the increase in the age of marriage, and the increase in employment in non-agricultural sectors due to advances in education were effective in the emergence of this situation. As a result, the population has constantly increased due to natural population growth and the effect of mass migrations to Turkey from abroad, Balkans, Caucasus, etc. The population growth rate in the country was 12.4 per thousand in 2017, and the population reached 80.8 million. The results of Address-Based Population Registration System, 2023. The population of Türkiye became 85,372,377 people. The population residing in Türkiye increased by 92,824 people compared to the previous year and reached to 85,372,377 people as of December 31, 2023. Male population was 42,734,071 people and female population was 42,638,306 people. While 50.1% of the total population were males, 49.9% of the total population were females. According to the results of Address-Based Population Registration System, ABPRS, foreign population 1 residing in Türkiye decreased by 253,293 people and became 1,570,543 people. 48.6% of this population were males and 51.4% of this population were females. Annual population growth rate of Türkiye was 1.1 in thousands. Annual population growth rate decreased to 1.1 per thousand in 2023 from 7.1 per thousand in 2022. Proportion of population living in province and district centers was 93%. Proportion of population residing in province and district centers, which was 93.4% in 2022, became 93% in 2023. Besides, proportion of population living in towns and villages increased to 7% from 6.6%. The population of Istanbul became 15,655,924 people. The population residing in Istanbul decreased by 252,027 people compared to the previous year and became 15,655,924 people. Istanbul, constituting 18.34% of Turkey's population, was followed by Ankara with 5,803,482 inhabitants, Izmir with 4,479,525 inhabitants, Bursa with 3,214,571 inhabitants and Antalya with 2,696,249 inhabitants. The least populated province was Bayburt with 86,047 people. Bayburt was the least populated province with 86,047 inhabitants. This province was followed by Tunceli with 89,317 inhabitants, Ardahan with 92,819 inhabitants, Gümüşhane with 148,539 inhabitants and Kilis with 155,179 inhabitants. Structural change in population pyramid continued. Population pyramids are the graphs that show the changes in the age-sex structure of population. When the population pyramids of Türkiye were compared for the years 2007 and 2023, it was seen that the elderly population and median age increased due to the decline in fertility and mortality rates. Structural change in population pyramid continued. Population pyramids are the graphs that show the changes in the age-sex structure of population. When the population pyramids of Türkiye were compared for the years 2007 and 2023, it was seen that the elderly population and median age increased due to the decline in fertility and mortality rates. A population pyramid is a way to visualize two variables, age and sex. They are used by demographers, who study populations. A population pyramid is a graph that shows the distribution of ages across a population divided down the center between male and female members of the population. The graphic starts from youngest at the bottom to oldest at the top. It is called a population pyramid because when a population is growing, there are more babies being born than there are people dying. The graphic forms the shape of a triangle. A population pyramid can be used to compare differences between male and female populations of an area. They also show the number of dependents, children and, sometimes, elderly people, and general structure of the population at any given moment. There are three main trends in populations that affect the shape of a population pyramid. The first is when there are both high fertility and high mortality rates among younger members. This type of population, known as expansive, creates a sharp triangle shape in the graph. Expansive pyramids mean that the population does not increase much in total number and as many young people. The second trend, known as constrictive, is when there is a lower mortality rate with the fertility rate remaining constant. These population pyramids are wider in the middle of the graph as the population has high numbers of middle-aged and elderly people, but fewer young people. The third trend is stationary, which is a population with low mortality and low fertility rates. These graphs have a square or pillar shape rather than a pyramid one. These population pyramids represent a stable population that will not change significantly barring any sudden changes to fertility or mortality rates. Population pyramids are useful for studying the future of a region as well as examining historical and current population trends. If part of the population has been affected by sudden changes, such as casualties from armed conflict, high female mortality and childbirth, or the migration of young workers out of poorer regions, the graph will offer a way to visualize how the future population will be affected. They can also help direct government and private industry distribution of services for regions based on population needs. Why are more baby boys born than baby girls? In population charts across different countries, it's a common observation that the number of boys is slightly higher than the number of girls. The exact reason for this gender imbalance, whether it's due to physiological or anatomical factors, remains a subject of significant debate and research within the field of demographics and biology. There are various theories and hypotheses, but a definitive explanation for this phenomenon is yet to be universally agreed upon. Chromosomes that determine gender are labeled X and Y. In this system, 20 typically signifies a female, while XY signifies a male gender. When observed under a microscope, the X chromosome is found to be approximately 5 times larger than the Y chromosome. Consequently, it's calculated that sperm carrying the X chromosome tend to be slower in their movement compared to those carrying the Y chromosome. Assuming all other conditions are equal, this difference in speed increases the likelihood of the egg being fertilized with a Y chromosome, resulting in a male offspring. Why men often die earlier than women? Take bigger risks. Some of the reason seems to be biological destiny. The frontal lobe of the brain, the part that controls judgment and consideration of an action's consequences, develops more slowly in boys and young men than in their female counterparts. This may contribute to the fact that far more boys and men die in accidents or due to violence than girls and women. Examples include biking, driving drunk, and homicide. This tendency toward lack of judgment and consideration of consequences may also contribute to detrimental lifestyle decisions among young men, such as smoking or drinking to excess. Have more dangerous jobs. Men far outnumber women in some of the riskiest occupations, including military combat, firefighting, and working at construction sites. Die of heart disease more often and at a younger age. In fact, men are 50% more likely than women to die of heart disease. The fact that men have lower estrogen levels than women may be part of the reason. But medical risks, such as poorly treated high blood pressure or unfavorable cholesterol levels, may contribute as well. Be larger than women. Across many species, larger animals tend to die younger than smaller ones. Although the magnitude of this effect is uncertain in humans, it may work against male longevity. Commit suicide more often than women. This is true despite the fact that depression is considered more common among women and women make more non-fatal suicide attempts. Some attribute this to the tendency for men to avoid seeking care for depression and the cultural norms that discourage men from seeking help for mental illness. Be less socially connected. For reasons that aren't entirely clear, people with fewer and weaker social connections, which tends to include men more often than women, tend to have higher death rates. Avoid doctors. According to the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, men are far more likely to skip routine health screens and far less likely than women to have seen a doctor of any kind during the previous year. Median age of Turkey's population increased to 34. The median age is the age of the person in the middle when the ages of all people in the population are sorted from the newborn baby to the oldest. Median age is also one of the important indicators used in the interpretation of the age structure of population. The median age of the population in Turkey increased to 34 in 2023 from 33.5 in 2022. When it was analyzed by sex, it was seen that the median age increased from 32.8 to 33.2 for males while it increased from 34.2 to 34.7 for females. Sinop had the highest median age while Sanliurfa had the lowest median age. When the median age was examined by provinces, it was seen that Sinop had the highest median age with 42.8. This province was followed by Giresun and Kastamonu with 42.4. On the other side, Sanliurfa had the lowest median age with 21.2. This province was followed by Sirnak with 22.7 and Agar with 24. Sinop had the highest median age for both males and females. When the median age was examined by sex and provinces, it was seen that, for the male population, Sinop had the highest median age with 41.9 and Sanliurfa had the lowest median age with 20.7. For the female population, Sinop had the highest median age with 43.8 while Sanliurfa had the lowest median age with 21.6. Proportion of those never married was higher among males. In Türkiye, when the distribution of marital status was analyzed by sex for the years 2009 and 2023, it was observed that the proportion of never married people was higher among males than females, while the proportion of widowed and divorced people was higher among females than males. On the other hand, for the years 2009 and 2023, it was seen that the proportion of married people, which made up the vast majority, was close to each other for both sexes. Proportion of population in working age group was 68.3%. The proportion of the working age population aged 15 to 64 increased from 66.5% in 2007 to 68.3% in 2023. On the other hand, the proportion of child population aged 0 to 14 decreased from 26.4% to 21.4%, and the proportion of population aged 65 and over increased from 7.1% to 10.2%. Total age dependency ratio decreased. Total age dependency ratio, which indicates the total number of children and elderly people per person in working age, decreased from 46.8% in 2022 to 46.3% in 2023. Child dependency ratio, which indicates the total number of children per person in working age, decreased from 32.3% to 31.4%. Elderly dependency ratio, which indicates the number of elderly people per person in working age, increased from 14.5% to 15%. In other words, in 2023, every 100 people in working age were responsible for 31.4 children and 15 elders in Türkiye. Number of people per square kilometer was 111 for Türkiye and 3013 for Istanbul. The population density, which is the number of persons per square kilometer, became 111 in 2023. Istanbul had the highest population density with 3013 persons per square kilometer. This province was followed by Kocaeli with 582 persons and Izmir with 373 persons. On the other side, similar to the previous year, Tunceli was the province which had the smallest population density with 12 persons per square kilometer. This province was followed by Ardahan with 19 persons and Erzincan with 21 persons. Population density of Konya, which is the province with the largest surface area, was 60 and population density of Yalova, which is the province with the smallest surface area, was 360.